Will Andrew Lincoln return as Rick Grimes sooner than we think? And now in today's video, I'm just going to be talking about some new proof that came out that could potentially support Rick Grimes returning to the Walking Dead universe in the foreseeable future. And also I'm just going to be theorizing and speculating as to where they could put Rick in and how soon could he potentially make an appearance in the Walking Dead universe. So please stay tuned. And now, before we actually get into the video, I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And I'd like to ask you all to like this video as much as you guys can. It helps a ton. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. And now the past 2 months have been very crazy when it comes to, Rick Grimes returning, right? We got a lot of teases and also a lot of proof that we could potentially be seeing Rick Grimes appear very soon in the Walking Dead universe. And first of all, I want to talk about that interview that Andrew Lincoln had about a month and a half ago, right? I made a video about this topic, but I will run it down again. And basically, Andrew Lincoln, he was on tour, right? He was just doing some stage performances in England, and he had an interview for BBC. And they asked him the question that will he be returning to the role of Rick Grimes, and Andrew Lincoln basically confirmed that he's in talks right now and they're just working out some sort of deal. And then 2 weeks ago we saw that Scott Gimple was in England and he met up with Andrew Lincoln. Now, a lot of people may be thinking that, this is just a casual, friendly meetup and, both of them are just catching up. But I personally think that Scott Gimple was there to finalize some sort of deal with Andrew Lincoln. And the reason why I'm saying that is because both Dead City and Daryl Dixon are in production, and it's the perfect time for them to have some sort of Rick Grimes cameo in one of those seasons. And I'm personally leaning more towards Daryl Dixon season 4, but I'll talk more about that later. And also another thing I want to point out is that today or yesterday was Andrew Lincoln's final day in stage performance, and I believe he was performing The Lady from the Sea, right? So he's done that now, and he basically has a clean slate. I mean, unless if they want to shoot another season of Cold Water, I believe that with Scott Gimple coming to England 2 weeks ago, and now we're seeing that Andrew Lincoln has done his whole stage performance, I think that we are gearing up towards a huge announcement in the near future. And also, Daryl Dixon season 4 is almost done, right? The shooting and everything, the production for that season is done in a few weeks, right? I believe they pushed it back 2 weeks, right? So they're completing production 2 weeks earlier than expected. So I'm not too sure how to take that. But with both Andrew Lincoln and Norman Reedus being done, their whole schedules and everything like that, and they're basically gearing up to do something new. Now, I'm not saying that, Scott Gimple came with the contract to England 2 weeks ago, Andrew Lincoln signed it, and now they're just gearing up production for the next big Walking Dead project. But what I'm saying is that I wouldn't be surprised if they get Andrew Lincoln for a last-minute cameo for Daryl Dixon season 4, because that season is still in production, and also it's the very last season for Daryl Dixon. So it's, I don't know, the timing is just perfect for Rick Grimes to finally make his appearance in Daryl Dixon season 4, because they did make some more nods towards Rick Grimes in season 3 of Daryl Dixon, right, where Daryl was just questioning himself and he was just saying, why did I leave home? Why didn't I go back, right? And also with that whole thing in season 1 where Carol quite clearly said that, Rick came back, but then they didn't follow up on that. They could really tie all those loose ends up together, and I wouldn't be surprised if within a week or two we get some sort of picture or video from the behind the scenes of Daryl Dixon season 4 and we just see Rick and Daryl reuniting. And of course they wouldn't announce that themselves. I'm saying that this could be a leaked picture. So yeah, I think that the timing here is completely perfect for Andrew Lincoln to fly over there and to shoot some scenes for Daryl Dixon's finale, and then they go into their next big event for the Walking Dead universe. But as we all know, right, this universe has been disappointing us quite a bit, right, and all the spin-offs have been pretty much big letdowns. But I do have some faith now, right now, with all of this proof and evidence that Andrew Lincoln is about 95% he's coming back, right? You know, I am about 95% sure that Andrew Lincoln is going to be coming back in the near future of the Walking Dead universe, and I'm leaning more towards Daryl Dixon season 4. But when is an actual, you know, Rick Grimes announcement going to happen? And now, like, what I want to make clear is that it's not important for there to be a Comic-Con to make this sort of announcement, right? It's not important to have a big event, right? Like some other like expo or something that they could make some sort of announcement like this. I think that they could even make this online, right? You know, they could make an announcement on Twitter, or they could have their own little event, like their own little live stream. Then we see Andrew Lincoln and Norman Reedus together, and they announce the next big Walking Dead project. But again, yet again, with Dead City being a season behind of Daryl Dixon, right? So Dead City is shooting its 3rd season right now, whereas Daryl Dixon is shooting his 4th season right now. So we still have to get through Dead City season 3, and then they have to start Dead City season 4, complete that. That has to come out, and then we get some sort of big event. But I would not be surprised if we get some sort of announcement, right? Probably a Rick and Daryl spin-off, right? Maybe they could give us what we all want, right? Maybe a big crossover spin-off. But if they don't want to implement Negan and Maggie into that story yet, if they want to complete Dead City as it is, right? Because Dead City, timeline wise, I believe it's more ahead than the other 2 spin-offs, and also the Walking Dead main show, of course. So they could just say that Negan and Maggie went off to New York, right? And they could have it in the current timeline where Dead City is taking place. And then we just see Rick controlling the Commonwealth and Daryl working alongside him. I think that that would be a good premise for the 1st season of this crossover spin-off, or The Walking Dead season 12. But yeah, you know, just going back to my point about this universe and just these spin-offs and all of that, right? You know, it's sort of an uphill battle, right, for everybody working on the Walking Dead universe, the writing team, and especially Scott Gimple himself, right? You know, if you just go into his comment section on Instagram or even Twitter, people are really cooking him, right? You know, they're saying that, you know, bring Rick and Daryl back. What are you doing with this Walking Dead universe? The spin-offs are boring, right? You could see all these comments everywhere in his comment section. So I'm not saying that, you know, social media is influencing their decisions, but I'm saying that the fan outrage in general, right? You know, and everybody on YouTube, and me included, right? You know, they see content creators like me and other YouTubers that talk about this universe, and they've been begging for a crossover spin-off, and they've been begging for these characters to reunite. And I think that now these spin-offs are so far down, right? You know, they are in the ditch right now, quality-wise and story-wise. For example, Daryl Dixon season 3, right? There wasn't really much of a premise there, right? You know, it wasn't even a Daryl and Carol story. It was just Daryl cleaning up other people's messes and saving other people, right? That's literally the whole premise of season 3 of Daryl Dixon. And they really need to fix that. And I think that Andrew Lincoln, right, Rick Grimes, is their red emergency button, right? You know, they had that emergency button ready, but they were just too afraid to push it. And I think that with these spin-offs being in a ditch, right, and like I mentioned before, they really needed to get fan trust back. And I think the only way to do that is to bring Andrew Lincoln back, right? Like that's literally what Marvel did, right? You know, they brought back Robert Downey Jr. because they knew that that was their poster boy, right? That was the character that, you know, kept the MCU up and alive, right? Even if you have all of these characters, right? The main poster boy, the person that started everything, if that character is not in your connected universe, then no one's gonna watch it, right? Automatically, like, you know, that's literally what they did with RDJ, right? But they brought him back as Doctor Doom, but the whole point there is that they brought back Robert Downey Jr. So that's what they're doing with Andrew Lincoln, right? That's literally what they're doing. It's the same situation. Is that quality-wise, those spin-offs went down. Review-wise, I could totally see a downhill trend with these spin-offs, right? You know, when it comes to writing, storytelling, and just characters in general, right? Every new character that they introduce into these spin-offs are really boring, right? I don't care about these characters, and it's just so predictable also that, oh yeah, you know, this new character is introduced, right? And we get a little bit on their backstory, and then a few minutes into the episode they just die right there, right? And that's literally how all these spin-offs are, right? That's how predictable these spin-offs are. So they really need to clean up everything, right? They need to get fan trust back, and the only way to do that is to finally announce something big for the Walking Dead universe, and I personally think that announcement is coming very, very soon to get this universe back up on its feet again, right? Because the last time that the Walking Dead universe even trended, that was when The Ones Who Live came out, right? And that was about like last year, right? That was last year, February. So it's almost been 2 years since The Ones Who Live came out. And we got Daryl Dixon Season 2, Dead City Season 2, and also Daryl Dixon Season 3, which have been very mediocre. So yeah, like, you know, I think that they should just gear up for that whole crossover spin-off that they have planned, right? I mean, Scott Gimple's acting like he knows what he's doing, but it's quite clear that he does not know what he's doing, right? He doesn't know how to handle these characters that well. So yeah, like, you know, he's been saying that they've been planning on something as of a crossover spin-off or something like that in the future, but I thought it was going to be somewhere in 2028, maybe 2029, but we could potentially see this show being a reality in 2027 after Dead City Season 3 and 4 are done, and also when Daryl Dixon Season 4 is done. And I believe that we're going to get an announcement possibly, I think, in a few months' time, right? Probably in a month or two, but if not that, then my best bet is Comic-Con, right? I think during Comic-Con, we're going to get a classic Walking Dead Comic-Con moment where all of these actors walk out one by one, and then we get a formal announcement about the new spin-off, right? About like whatever timeline they have planned up, right? If they have 5 other spin-offs planned, they give us a roadmap, right? No, they tell us, oh yeah, I know this spin-off is coming now, and this spin-off is coming at, you know, this year and this date. And then maybe they could dabble in some movies here and there, right? Make these characters come back together again, even if they announce a Walking Dead Season 12, right? If you just call this new crossover spin-off The Walking Dead Season 12, the final season, then I think that that's perfect, right? I think that that is exactly what you need to get that fan hype back, and I think that they're slowly going in the right direction, right? With Scott Gimple going to Andrew Lincoln, and with Andrew Lincoln confirming that he's in talks right now, I think that we have a bright future ahead of us for the Walking Dead universe, but also this could go very bad in a lot of ways. So yeah, like, I just hope that they do something right for once when it comes to these spin-offs, and they just bring that whole appeal back for these spin-offs when they were first announced. But yeah, that's it for today's video. I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really, really appreciate it. And I'd like to ask you all to like this video as much as you guys can. It helps a ton. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys so much for watching.